to enhance Iraq's relationship with OPEC, the oil cartel controlled by Saudi Arabia. Now, who wrote this document? It was written in Iraq's capital, which is Houston. It was written by James Baker's people. Who is James Baker? James Baker, the consigliere for the Bush family, the lawyer for Exxon Corporation, and the lawyer for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Exxon, the Bushes, and Saudi Arabia came up with a plan for Iraq. Iraqis weren't invited to the meeting. 323 pages. I have the whole thing. It's marked secret confidential. This isn't from my black helicopter, Lenny. I put it at the top of the BBC Nightly News. I cannot get it into the U.S. news for anything, but maybe translating into Arabic, it can kind of sneak through. You know how it's getting into Iraq? The soldiers are carrying my book into Iraq. They're breaking it up into chapters and passing it around. It's very, very popular in Baghdad.
Well, let's change topics for a minute. The Saudis financed it. The Israelis knew about it. Pakistani and perhaps Italian intelligence was involved in it. We're talking about 9/11, of course. Yet again, a lot of our viewers are, let's just say, 9/11 skeptics. When you mentioned conspiracy theorists earlier, we don't resemble that remark. We just want the facts, ma'am, nothing but the facts. However, your position has been something which has been described as lie hop, let it happen on purpose. The administration was on board with it. Why don't you see 9/11 as somehow connected to the war in Iraq and the neocon plan for global dominance?
Well, it is in the sense of these are vulture opportunists. Before the towers fell, when they were hit, but before they even fell, they're already saying, we're going after Iraq, which had, of course, nothing whatsoever at all to do with Osama bin Laden. In fact, Osama was at war with Saddam, because Saddam is a secularist and opposed. In fact, Al-Qaeda in Iraq was first there to attack Saddam. The guys we're fighting now. In other words, we have now opened the door to these guys. Well, but that's a story that I'm not breaking. What I do have in our Madhouse is something called the 199I document, which I had in my last book, The Best Democracy Money Can Buy, but I could take the story further. What is that document? It's a document that we put on BBC television. Again, it's not some crazy stuff from a black helicopter. It was from BBC television. We obtained it from unhappy FBI agents, and we got confirmation from unhappy CIA agents that the Bush administration told the intelligence agencies, you may not investigate the bin Laden family in the United States. They are running a suspected terrorist organization. That's what it says. Right on the document, they were not allowed to investigate.
In the past several weeks, we've had on an astrophysicist, and we've had on several others that said that the towers could not have come down from the planes, and especially Tower 7. No building has ever come down by fire. Do you believe that those two planes took down 3 World Trade Center towers?
It's not a question of belief. It's a question of whether I have any other information.
Well, now,
and I have no. And look, I got to tell you, Lenny, I'm just kind of stuck with this one. I'm an investigative reporter. If I haven't investigated it, I can't report on it. Then I'm just giving you my goofball opinion. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a physicist. I had an office in the World Trade Center, but that's all I can tell you. I can tell you what I've found, which is that they couldn't look. To me, I see, like everyone else, you see the picture. It looks to me like planes hit the building, and my information doesn't comport with the idea of like a controlled demolition. We have looked at that, and I'm sorry if people are upset about this, but we spent a long time very, very seriously looking at that, and that just didn't happen.
The only information we had on that, just to finish up on this, was the NIST report. And you're saying in 90% of what the government says you doubt, and you've done investigative reporting, and you've found out that they tend to lie a lot. But in this particular case, you choose to believe the administration's line on what happened. And that to me is surprising. I
don't know everything. And, neither Bush nor bin Laden send me their letters. Karl Rove does. He sent them accidentally to me through his email. He misaddressed his little evil emails, and I got 500 of them. I kid you not. So, it's not a question. Look, the Bush administration is almost systematic in its prevarication, mendacity. When they say things like, we never thought an airplane would hit a building. And, it's like complete, as we'd say in Britain, bollocks. You can't, no sentient human is going to believe the stories told by the Bush administration about the attack on America. The question is, alternative theories are very difficult to prove because, well, they're difficult. You can posit other theories, but that we can't prove either. The problem is the administration, my concern is that the administration's line is such baloney that it allows, it's like a petri dish for allowing all kinds of other stuff to grow up, which may or may not hold water. I mean, I can't look at all these, but, controlled demolition I could rule out. And I'm sorry, it rules out. But on the other hand, and it also doesn't comport with the information we have about bin Laden attacking. Because if, they said don't look at bin Laden. Well, if they're going to have a controlled demolition, I mean, the information we had that was put out by people like the towers didn't lean over and stuff actually just is factually false. The towers did lean over. They did lean. And it's that simple. And so the information that was given out, I haven't seen any engineer. It takes 2 years to wire a building for controlled demolition. And that's an awful lot of people. You'd have to snuff an awful lot of people. It's Occam's razor. If you're going to take out a building and you could do it by, look, let's remember something. The U.S. government hired bin Laden to kill people in Afghanistan. Why can't they hire bin Laden for something else? I mean, that's another theory. If you're going to take out the buildings, you're not going to do it with dynamite. It's just not going to happen. And there's zero evidence. I mean, when I say there's zero evidence, I mean there's absolutely stone cold, nothing there. I'm sorry, Lenny. That's what I got to tell you.
Well, I have a collection of scientists who would beg to differ. However, let's...
No. There's no engineer. You can have ballroom dancers. You can have great actors. You can have poets. You can have physicists. And there's a guy, Dr. Jones. His last big theory was that Jesus met with the Mayans after the resurrection. He's a complete fruitcake and a complete utter fraud, Mr. Jones. Come at me. Now, here's what I want to do. At a certain point, we have to, what we're doing is we're legitimizing a government. We have to be very careful when we talk about 9/11 truth, that what we don't let happen, while their story isn't believable, that we don't come up with such goofball theories that are so easily disprovable that they discredit questions raised about this administration.
We fully disagree. The book is Our Madhouse. It has a lot of great information, and I hear it's available with Free Speech's pledge drive that's going on right now.
You can get a Free Speech pledge drive, your local Pacifica stations, INN, anyone. What I want to do is make sure that independent, unbossed media gets this word out. Because as Karl Rove said, we are very lucky that the U.S. media, national media, has not picked up the investigations in Our Madhouse. Well, Lenny has at INN, and I really want to thank you for actually kind of sneaking me through the electronic Berlin Wall that these guys have set up and bringing my reports back home. Lenny, you are doing very, very important work. I hope you out there have some strong idea how powerful and important INN is. Because if it weren't for INN, you are going to see nothing. That little eyeball that you see on the CBS logo, that's not an eyeball. That's a pimple on the corporate rectum of Viacom. What you're going to see here is truth. Every second, 24 frames a second of truth. And I really appreciate that, Lenny, for the opportunity to talk.
Greg Palast, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you for joining us at INN.
Take it easy.